Hello everyone. Today, let's continue following the emotional journey of Dieuhan, a resilient single mother, tirelessly searching for her biological parents. After meeting Mr. Chin, một ngôi gia la một ngôi bang qua chako, Ouen, Han was shown an old photograph. Mr. Chin claimed it was a picture of her when she was just a little girl. But that wasn't all. He also shared a story he had never told anyone before. A memory of a young girl who once came to his house and fell, leaving a scar on her arm. That story struck a chord deep within Han. She believed him. And if what he said was true, then somewhere out there, her real parents might still be alive. That possibility rekindled her hope. With renewed determination, Han set off again. She traveled from village to village, knocking on doors, speaking to elderly people who once frequented the old market, piecing together fragments of memories from strangers. But the clues gradually became more and more faint. She had stayed in this region for quite a while, long enough for people who knew her to start worrying. Alone, exhausted, and filled with uncertainty, Han began to wonder, was what she was searching for her birth parents, her roots, even real? Or was it just a fragile thread of hope she clung to, a way to fill the emptiness she had carried for so many years? That afternoon, Han stood alone on Ouen's balcony. She looked up at the sky, her mind filled with memories of her old home in the countryside, the house, the little moments that made it hers. She wondered if Tom missed home the same way she did. Suddenly, Ouen came over and gently placed a hand on Han's shoulder. "What are you thinking about, Han? Feeling homesick?" Han gave a small nod, her eyes red, but still managing a smile. "Yeah, I miss it a lot. I've been thinking I should go back, Ouen. I'll visit someone I know and leave them my home address. If my parents ever come looking, at least they'll have somewhere to reach out to. I'm not sure they will, but at least I'll leave a trace." Ouen was momentarily stunned. "You're leaving just like that? Once you go, I'll miss you so much." Han turned to her and held her hand. "Don't be sad, Ouen. We'll definitely meet again. When you get the chance, come visit me in the countryside. I'll be there waiting." Both smiled softly, though their eyes carried a hint of sorrow. After a moment, Han asked quietly, "But if I leave, what about those thugs from last time? What if they come looking for you again?" Ouen reassured her with a gentle smile. "It's all right. They don't know where I live. And besides, the An already reported them to the police. Don't worry about me anymore." Han let out a sigh of relief. She knew she had caused Ouen her share of trouble. Then she asked, "So would you want to come with me to visit that acquaintance?" Without hesitation, Ouen nodded. "Let me grab my things. We'll go together." After getting ready, Han, Ouen, and little Tom quietly left the house together. The three of them held hands as they walked along a narrow dirt path leading away from the boarding house. Today, Han was going to see Mr. Chia, the only person she believed still held some memories of her parents. She had thought long and hard before deciding to return to his house, to personally leave her home address, hoping that one day her parents might find their way back to her. On the quiet road, Ouen suddenly broke the silence. "Han, is your acquaintance's house far from here?" Han smiled and replied, "Not really. Just past that small bridge up ahead. We'll be there soon." The three continued walking. But as they approached a narrow alley where the old roof of Mr. Chin's house could be seen in the distance, Ouen suddenly stopped. Her expression shifted. Her eyes seemed to drift off to a faraway place, lost in some distant memory. After a brief pause, Ouen asked hesitantly, "Han is your acquaintance, Mr. Chin?" Han smiled. "Yeah, that's right. Why? Do you know him?" Ouen gave a small, awkward smile. "Not really. I think I've just heard the name somewhere before." "Then come in with me." "He's really kind," Han said cheerfully. The truth was, Ouen knew Mr. Qin far more than Han could have imagined. Mr. Qin, the man Han was now seeking for help, was actually Ouyen's stepfather. That part of the story, Ouen had never told anyone, not even Han, her closest friend at the moment. Ouen wasn't ready to face it yet. She placed a hand on her stomach and suddenly winced in pain. "Han, I think I've got a stomach ache. I'll head back first, okay? I'm suddenly not feeling well." Han looked worried. "What happened? Should I go buy you some medicine?" Ouen waved her off. "It's nothing. Probably just something I ate. You go ahead to Mr. Qin's house. I'll be fine after a bit of rest." Han looked at Ouen, a bit concerned, but didn't think too much of it. She lifted little Tom into her arms and continued on toward Mr. Qin's house. Dusk had begun to fall as Han carried Tom toward the familiar, weathered gate. In front of her, Mr. Qin's house was as quiet as it had been the first time she visited. She hesitated for a moment, then called out, "Mr. Qin, Aunt Qin, is anyone home?" For a while there was no response. Then from inside, a hoarse voice called back, "Who is it?" "It's me, Han," she replied. The door creaked open. Mr. Qin appeared still as thin as before, his old faded shirt damp with sweat. "Come in and have a drink," he said. Han shook her head politely. "Thank you, but I'm just stopping by for a moment. I have something I'd like to talk to you about." He gave her a long look, then nodded and gestured her in. "Have a seat, child. What's so urgent?" Han sat down with Tom in her lap, then hesitantly pulled out a small piece of paper from her bag. "Uncle, would you please give me the address of my parents in the South? I was planning to stay a few more days in case they came back, but honestly, I've already been here for quite a while. I think it's time I returned home." Mr. Qin frowned, his voice slowing down. "Why not stay a little longer? What if they come back tomorrow and miss you?" Han lowered her head, her eyes red. "I've thought about that a lot, Uncle, but I can't wait here forever. I've already left my address. If they return, please give it to them." The air in the room grew heavy with silence. Mr. Qin remained quiet, his eyes deep in thought. Just then, Mrs. Qin suddenly stormed in from the back of the house, her face filled with frustration. "She's right. She's been here for over a month already." Mr. Qin spun around, his voice firm. "How can you say that? She's the child of an old friend." The couple began arguing, their voices rising louder and louder. The room felt suffocating. Han quickly stood up, bowed deeply. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to trouble you anymore. I'll be going now. I can't stay here." A short while later, Mr. Qin came back out, holding a carefully folded old piece of paper in his hand. He handed it to Han, his voice lower and more serious. "This is Mr. Hung's address. If you've made up your mind, take it." Han bowed her head, her hands trembling as she accepted the paper. She couldn't hold back her tears. Choking up, she said goodbye to both of them, then carried Tom in her arms and walked out of that house, a house that once held her last hope, but now became a painful milestone on her journey. On the way back, Han walked in silence, with little Tom peacefully asleep in her arms. The late afternoon sunlight cast a golden hue over the narrow street, but in Han's heart, everything felt foggy and unclear, as if she were lost in a mist. Each step felt heavier than ever. Today she had officially left Mr. Qin's house behind. But what troubled Han the most wasn't the thought of leaving the city. It was Ouen. She frowned slightly as she recalled the frightened look in Ouyen's eyes when they were approaching Mr. Chin's house. Her close friend had suddenly made up an excuse about having a stomachache and turned back. But Han was sensitive enough to sense that the fear in Ouyen's eyes that day wasn't normal. Why was that? Han wondered. Could it be that Ouen knows something I don't? Confusion began to rise in her heart. She looked down at Tom, still sleeping soundly, and a wave of helplessness and anxiety washed over her. Han quietly asked herself, should I stay here a little longer? Or should I return to the countryside and wait for more news from Uncle Chin? Wait for some kind of miracle? She looked up at the sky, now tinged with violet. The road ahead was still long, and no one could say for sure where the answers would lie. But there was one thing Han knew for certain. Whether she returned home or stayed here, she would continue searching for the truth. Not because she was weak, but because she couldn't keep living without knowing who her parents were and why they abandoned her. And above all, for Tom's sake, she had to find his grandparents.
Trên đoạn đường về, Hân im lặng bước đi, để Tôm ngoan ngoãn ngủ gục trong vòng tay mẹ. Ánh nắng chiều buông xuống phủ vàng cả con phố nhỏ, nhưng trong lòng Hân lại mịt mờ như đang nằm dưới sương mù. Từng bước chân nặng nề hơn bao giờ hết. Hôm nay cô đã chính thức rời khỏi căn nhà của ông Chính, nhưng điều khiến Hân bận tâm nhất không phải là chuyện mình sắp phải rời thành phố, mà là Uyên. Hân khẽ nhíu mày khi nhớ lại ánh mắt hoảng hốt của Uyên lúc sắp đến nhà ông Chính. Cô bạn thân ấy bỗng dưng viện cớ đau bụng rồi quay về. Nhưng Hân đủ nhạy cảm để nhận ra sự sợ hãi trong ánh mắt Uyên hôm đó không hề bình thường. Tại sao lại như vậy? Hân thầm hỏi, phải chăng Uyên cũng biết điều gì đó mà mình không biết? Hân bắt đầu thấy bối rối. Cô quay sang Tôm đang ngủ yên, lòng bỗng trào lên một cảm giác vừa bất lực vừa lo âu. Hân tự hỏi liệu mình có nên tiếp tục ở lại hay không, hay là trở về quê chờ thêm thông tin từ chú Chính. Đợi một phép màu nào đó, cô ngẩng nhìn lên bầu trời đã ngả tím. Con đường phía trước vẫn còn dài, và câu trả lời thì chưa ai dám chắc sẽ nằm ở đâu. Nhưng có một điều Hân hiểu rất rõ, dù có quay về quê hay ở lại đây, cô vẫn sẽ tiếp tục đi tìm sự thật. Không phải vì cô yêu đuối, mà là vì cô không thể sống tiếp nếu chưa biết cha mẹ mình là ai. Vì sao lại bỏ rơi cô? Và hơn thế, vì Tôm, cô phải tìm được ông bà ngoại cho Tôm.